this is a classroom, without, proper management, and the overall climate is actually messy. The students, walking around, sit on the tables and stay in the front, play their phones, even without listening and asking permission to go out. And I can see he is trying very best to continue teaching, arranging for, different curriculum that I can see a lesson design, but sadly, yeah, it's partly not really working well, but, not for a few of the students can actually, contribute for the class. I think I cannot really identify norms or proper procedures or behaviors in this class. And yeah, that's all of my observation.
Yeah, and yeah, I noticed the same things you did. To me, it kind of seemed like their normal behaviors, like you called them norms, were just that like the students had freedom to kind of do whatever they wanted during the lesson. They could get up, walk around, lean back in their seats, bring each other papers, things like that. And there was really like no repercussions for this. Like any kind of misbehavior, he just kind of goes with it, tolerates it, things like that.
I think the teacher seemed to have very little control in the classroom, and I think that we see different people arriving at the, and maybe it's the school in general, but people arriving in the classroom at all different manner of times, long before either the bell or the beginning time has started.
I made a note, like at 9-minute mark, suddenly there's lots more students in the class. Like there's all the desks are full.
You may have edited it at points, but yeah. So, and I think it was interesting as well, and I don't know if we said this in the earlier version, but I think he seemed to focus on just one student.
Yeah, I think like
then throughout the class, I think.
Yeah, something.
But it seemed to me that he was kind of trying to get work out of this student because he wasn't always so productive.
Oh, the one in the middle.
Yeah.
And I also thought that's because like that kid was easy access. He sat in the middle, and everyone else was like at the side.
Yeah. No, the location was definitely like not having maybe assigned seating was also probably a norm or a routine that probably the teacher could have used as well. Yeah. It seemed that the students were very much like one student at the side seemed to spend the whole time kind of like this, and you're looking at the back of their head. And they didn't seem to have any engagement at all.
Yeah, they're also sleeping students too.
And we did speak earlier as well about how odd it was about the two students at the front of the class that seemed to be sitting at his desk.
Yeah.
He didn't seem.
All right, let's go over the recommendations that we had for this classroom.
Okay.
I definitely recommend the ICT equipment need to be collected before, even started, the earphones, the iPad or earphones, like iPhones or something. Every phone, every equipment must be actually, stay properly. The student did not really have a right to check it without permission.
Yeah. My recommendations are one, like give more feedback and have more positivity, like just in general. And also that I think in general, like he showed that he had really low expectations for the class. So that's not very motivating for them. He should raise the expectations. Don't just offer to give candy for doing nothing. Don't offer to give school points just for like basic requirements for the course. Raise the expectations and like that the students know that he thinks they're capable of more.
Yeah, and I think having a general organized seating plan is probably good as well in showing that like this is the expectation of the classroom and you can't just sit wherever you want.
Yeah.
Because I think he loses control then as well.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
So, and I think he ends up shouting a lot of the instructions as well at the beginning and throughout the class because quite a number of the students just don't seem to be paying attention to him.
Now video 2, we're actually taking longer to discuss the videos this time than we did last
Okay.
So what were our impressions of video to the virtual classroom?
Do you want me to go first or Elva?
Oh, me. Let me go first. Okay, this class is actually bad too. I can't see any positivities. This is a very quiet class. In watching this video, I'm feeling the tension between the teachers and the students. I think the teachers in the bad mood too, in the bad reactions between them. I cannot really reveal even a single student really facing on the camera in the entire time, and no one is willing to contribute. And I can heard about they are talking in Chinese during the class. They are playing games and chatting with others because the mic is not really off. And for the teachers still trying to get something done with their one chart, but eventually very sadly the student cannot contribute even for a very simple answer. Yeah. As a result, the learning is not effective at all.
It seemed like a strangely structured lesson. I know we didn't talk about this before, but he went from discussing comparisons in the Venn diagram to suddenly talking about U.S. presidents.
Yeah, he comes a lot. I'm not sure what the subject was. Maybe it was just like English ESL class. But yeah, that was a little weird.
Seemed a strange split, but I think it was they were disengaged. He was probably a little bit disengaged too, but I also feel it's a bit disheartening teaching to a blank screens. He probably should have made all of the students, turn their cameras on.
Yeah, I should have engaged them individually too, like been like, Kevin, like, how are you doing? Like, what are you doing? Like, or at least make them do the thumbs up visual cue.
I think initially as well, he got there was one of the students, and I don't think he could remember his name or pronounce his name. But
yeah, that's when it's got the name right there in the virtual chat.
Yeah, at the very beginning. But I think it's he's. But again, the whole time it was like the students are like this. It's sort of
they were
there's no.
Even the ones that had their camera on didn't show their face. And even though he asked them to verbally answer, they refused to do that. So I think for recommendations, like I think he has to stop allowing that behavior, like call on them by name, ask them direct questions rather than just, blanket asking the entire class, get them to talk. And also questions that don't have single word responses. And if they respond with a single word, like kind of encourage them to elaborate a little more, provide a little bit more.
Better questioning was definitely, but I also he probably needs to try and build a better relationship as well with them.
Yeah, I agree.
I think he, I mean, I initially thought, okay, they're just shy, and when he did get them to read certain things, their language, they clearly were second language learners, but I mean, it's not like that they would have been unused to each other. And if they've been texting and messaging each other in Chinese, they're not unknown to each other, but they just seem to sort of like, this will goof off. And maybe, as you said earlier, like that it is in the early part of the pandemic and people are still getting to grips with how to run these classes. And it's not an easy thing, I don't think.
Yeah. Any other recommendations that we had?
I recommend he need to create more interactions between the teacher and the students, or students to students. For example, when they asking one students give feedback, the other students can actually show the emojis on the chat box, or maybe in general, if students facing on the camera, you can ask him very, the postures, like this is the Chinese like to do this one. Lucky, like, shows your, contribution and encouragement for better interaction. I think like it must, improve.
And we've kind of seen that they're both were not really, satisfactory lessons and to a large degree, but two very different kind of environments. So
so
I think we see some comparisons as well. They're both challenging environments in their own ways, and maybe like it being online teaching is not fun, but I think if you don't, I think now we have a better idea of how to do it.
Yeah,